the memories that I have of my childhood today is completely different than the memories that I used to have 5 to 10 years ago. In fact, I was bullied, I was abused, I was beaten when I was a little kid. So I always felt like a victim growing up. But because of revision, I was able to transform all that, and once I was able to let go of those memories using revision, I was able to implant some new memories actually, and that completely changed my future from then on. And that's why I was able to manifest so many greater changes in my life. So if you want to learn more about revision and how to make it work, stay tuned, because I'm gonna be guiding you through a step-by-step process, and let's get started. Welcome back to this video. My name is Rav. I'm a manifesting coach, and if you want to work one-on-one with me, the link is down in the description box below. And right now, I also have a free guide out which is going to help you speed up your manifestation. So go ahead and download that on the link below. Revision basically means that you go back to some of the unwanted memories from your life, whether it be from today or last week or sometime in your childhood, and you replace those unwanted memories by the kinds of memories that you would want to have happen. So if you ever used revision to change something from your past, feel free to leave down in the comment section below, because a lot of people who are already into manifesting and who know about the law of assumption seem to know this, and it's worked for them. So if you're one of those people, leave your experience down in the comment section below. But if you never tried revision before, I suggest you start with something small. When I first learned about revision, I started implementing on my day-to-day activities. For example, let's say a client didn't respond back to me and I kept trying to call them. Instead of getting frustrated in 3D, what I would do is I would just go in the theater of my mind, and I would use my imagination to see that the client had called me back and they'd responded me back in the way I would have expected them to respond back to me. At first, I wasn't very sold to this idea, right? Because how can possibly what you imagine on your mind change someone else's behavior towards you? That's what my thinking process was. But it started to happen actually. The reality outside started to confirm according to my imagination. The people in my reality started to act in the way I had imagined them to act towards me. From then on, I started making this a regular day-to-day practice, and I started using my imagination on my friends and see that they were doing something nice for me and all that kinds of stuff, right? And it would start to manifest like slowly by slowly. And then I heard about some other coach talking about going back in your childhood to revise your childhood traumas and things like that, and I wanted to try it out. Still being very skeptical in my mind, I decided to do that, and I went back to a scene from my childhood. I'm not going to talk about it because, you know, it's something that I've already let go of. I don't want to like reintroduce those scenes back to my mind so it doesn't manifest back, right? So I did something from my childhood. I went back to memory that was super painful, excruciatingly traumatic for me, and I started changing that slowly by slowly. And mind you, it took me almost a month to get that done. First, my imagination wouldn't even budge. Like when I tried to visualize, trying to see it as any differently, nothing would happen. But then what happened was I decided to use a trick from my NLP practice. The trick was basically to make the scene go dimmer and dimmer, and you know, if it wasn't like full bright color, just make it into black and white. And I did that. So once I started to do that, the reactiveness towards that memory started to decrease. So once that was done, I actually went back to write down if this scene would have worked on my favor, or if this situation had worked on my favor, how would it look like? And instead of that person being harsh towards me in that scene of the memory, I started to change that person in my imagination, of course, and they were being very kind towards me, and they were actually being very supportive of me. From then on, I just basically focused on that scene from a positive angle, right? I mean, it's totally fabricated. It was something that never happened, right? What happened was totally cruel. It was very painful, but I decided to just let go of that just as a form of experiment, because I guess I'm just that kind of curious person who goes into that kind of like extremes to try out new processes, right? And I did that. So after a month, actually the person who was the abuser of that incident, let's just call them that, they called me and they apologized for whatever they did, and that was out of the blue. We hadn't had contact for a long time, and that was just insane. And from then on, they started becoming very nice towards me, and at first I just felt like, okay, this shit is fake, you know, they're just trying to do this. And at first I wasn't even able to put 1 and 2 together, and I didn't even think that it was because of the revision that was always happening, but that apology definitely felt a little strange at first. Once that was done, I was able to forgive that person completely. But once that was done, we actually became closer than we ever were. And what happened was, I used to see my childhood as being very dark and grim until that point. But all of a sudden, these happy memories started to emerge. I mean, the real memories that were happy, that I never even thought about, and I didn't even realize that they had existed, started to come up in the surface. And all of a sudden, I was having all these different memories of me having good time with my family or at school, and you know, everywhere I was. And these things were actually real, and they happened too, right? The happy experiences. But because of my traumatic incidents or the memories, I was only able to focus on the negative ones when I grew up later on, right? So because of that, it basically shifted me into a different timeline than I was. And you can take this metaphorically or literally, but that's what happened. And from then on, my interaction with the people around me changed, and how I thought they interacted with me started to change. I mean, it was just like a different kind of person that I was. The Rav that was before there, like, you know, before I did the revision, was not the same Rav that was there after. And because of the revision, not only I was able to change my past, but I was also able to change my future. But just to give you a disclaimer, I'm not a mental health professional, and I'm not a practicing psychiatrist, so I'm not here giving suggestions on how you can deal with trauma in that way. But it's definitely helped me, and I know it's helpful for a lot of people who are actually able to rethink their memories and reimagine their memories and try to convert into positive, rather than just talking about like what happened in the past. If you are able to transform that into something positive, where you can actually feel like something positive happened in the past, if you implant that kind of belief in the past, it's going to change your future. Just like that movie Inception, how, you know, Leonardo DiCaprio and his team go into, you know, the deep layers of subconscious mind to change an idea, and once they come out from that, the person he has a completely different perception about his dad at the end. I'm sorry for the spoilers, but that's how it works in our minds too. And Christopher Nolan, I think he's a genius. I think he may know about law of assumption somehow. Now that being said, this is how you do a revision if you had an unwanted memory that you wanted to change. First step, you have to pick that memory, right? And think of it as a scene from a movie, and try to visualize most of the details in the beginning. After that, take deep breaths and try to get your in a state of relaxation. Me personally, I like deep belly breaths. I don't think you can see it on the screen here, but I like to take like deep belly breaths and exhale from my mouth. When I do this at least 5 times, it just makes my mind very, very relaxed. And from then on, when I look at that memory, I get to this point of non-reactiveness. Our goal here is to make that memory or that scene from the memory as dim as possible. You can try to, you know, like decrease the color gently and make it black and white, and try to make it blurry. Just try to make that scene as small, as blurry, as dark as possible. That way it doesn't incite any kind of emotional reaction from you. And after that, write down what you would have wished for to happen instead of what actually happened, and try to write that down with many details if you can, and start imagining that. Okay, it's best if you can stay on the same setting and try to make it different. For example, if you see someone yelling at you, just make them smile at you instead, right? Just try to stay within the same setting. But if it's like too hard for you, if you just feel like you can't even see their face, you don't even want to see their face, It's okay, just change that into some like animal, right? What's that movie, The Water Boy? You know, just try to imagine as like maybe a little baby trying to, you know, like come and play with you or something like that. Try to alter the scene from the same memory rather than just going to a completely different memory. And what this does is, whenever your mind wants to go back to that traumatic incident, instead of that, it's going to rewire into thinking that, okay, this another thing actually happened, which is of course not true. It may even feel silly to you. And yeah, watch that movie Waterboy if you haven't already, because it's kind of like that too, you know. What's his name, Bobby Boucher, he kind of turns that coach who always yells into a little boy, and when that happens, he actually goes and attacks it. You don't do that, okay? You don't do that. Instead, what you do is you visualize something nice happening instead of what actually happened. Okay, you can forget about the people involved in it, or just try to convert them into animals of your choice, or whatever you want to do. It's a creative exercise, it's a creative visualization exercise, and you can do whatever you want with it. And once you stick with it, I'm pretty sure it's going to create some changes in your life, whether it be big or small, depending on the kind of memories that you're altering. It's definitely gonna create some changes in your life. And if it seems hard for you to visualize, what you can do is you basically can journal it out. Write down what happened first, then cross it out, cross everything out, then write down what you would have wanted to have happen instead. Using revision has definitely transformed my life, and I'm super grateful to Neville Goddard for that. And this is the reason I wanted to share it with you too, in hopes that it can transform your life too. And I'm pretty sure, I believe that it will. So I'd like to end the video right here today, but if you have any questions, feel free to leave it down in the comment section below. If you want to work one-on-one with me, the link is also down in the description box below. And also, if you haven't downloaded that free guide, which is going to help you speed up your manifestation, go ahead and check that link down in the description box below. That being said, guys, I want to wish you all the very best. Goodbye and namaste.